I'm 26F, and my best friend Emma, 26F, has been my absolute ride or die since high school. We've shared countless memories, from late-night study sessions cramming for finals with junk food scattered everywhere to spontaneous road trips where we blast our favorite playlists and pull over for impromptu picnics at scenic spots, always supporting each other through heartbreaks, job interviews, and even helping pick out outfits for big dates. She's getting engaged to her boyfriend of 4 years, Alex, a kind guy who's fit right into our circle. And she's planning a fancy engagement party next month at an upscale garden venue with professional photographers, themed around a timeless elegance vibe. Think soft pastel colors, delicate floral arrangements, string lights, and everyone in coordinated semi-formal outfits to create that dreamy, cohesive look. I've been thrilled to help with the planning, even volunteering to handle the decorations like sourcing vintage-inspired centerpieces and curating a playlist of romantic tunes that nod to our shared music tastes from years ago. The issue cropped up unexpectedly 2 weeks ago during a casual planning call while we were both scrolling through Pinterest boards. Emma asked me to remove my facial piercings, a small nose ring, and a couple of subtle eyebrow studs that I've had for over 5 years as a key part of my personal style. Something she's always complimented before, saying they add a cool, edgy flair that suits my creative personality, and even helped me choose the jewelry at a piercing studio back in college. But this time, she explained seriously that they don't fit her vision of a polished, uniform aesthetic and might distract or stand out awkwardly in the group photos, potentially ruining the perfect album she's dreamed of since we were teens, flipping through bridal magazines together and fantasizing about our future weddings. I laughed it off initially, assuming it was a joke born from pre-party stress, but she got insistent, saying she's put so much thought into every detail to make the day feel magical and cohesive. When I refused firmly, pointing out that it's my body and the piercings have never been an issue in our countless shared photos over the years, like my college graduation where she posed proudly next to me, piercings and all, or our group trips where candid shots captured us authentically. She escalated, saying if I won't make this small compromise for her special moment, she might have to uninvite me to avoid any visual clash that could spoil the vibe. I'm deeply hurt and confused, with internal reflections swirling about how this feels like she's prioritizing superficial perfection over the genuine quirks that have defined our friendship, especially since I've always embraced her unique traits, like her quirky habit of color coordinating everything from her wardrobe to her planner. My boyfriend thinks she's overstepping boundaries and I should stand my ground without guilt, but some mutual friends say it's her big day, and removing them for a few hours is a reasonable ask to keep the peace. The irony stings even more, remembering how I've hyped her up through her own style experiments without judgment. Am I overreacting for refusing to remove my facial piercings for my best friend's engagement party photos, even though she says they'll ruin her perfect wedding aesthetic and threaten to uninvite me? Or is this a reasonable boundary to set in a long-term friendship? Update 1. After posting about Emma's request to remove my facial piercings for her engagement party, claiming they clash with her timeless elegance theme and might distract in the professional photos, escalating to an uninvite threat when I said no despite our history of embracing each other's styles. Tensions built as I stood firm on my boundaries, but a coffee meetup to hash it out turned into an emotional standoff that hinted at deeper insecurities bubbling under her carefully curated, perfect facade, adding layers of complexity to what started as a simple style disagreement. We met at our favorite cozy cafe last weekend, the familiar aroma of fresh pastries and brewing coffee mixing with the awkward vibe as we sat across from each other at a corner table, her with a stack of party inspiration photos printed out, and me nursing a steaming latte to steady my nerves and buy time to gather my thoughts. I started the conversation by expressing how genuinely hurt I felt by her demand, explaining that the piercings are a core part of my identity and self-expression, much like the meaningful tattoos she helped me select during a rebellious phase in college, and asking why this had suddenly become such a big deal for one event when they've been a non-issue in all our shared milestones over the years. She doubled down initially, flipping through her mood boards on her phone to show examples of everyone in soft, uniform looks with no bold accessories, saying my piercings would stand out like a sore thumb and disrupt the cohesive, dreamy vibe she's planned meticulously to make the day feel like a fairy tale escape from everyday chaos. When I suggested practical compromises, like positioning me in the back row for group shots to minimize visibility or even offering to help edit them digitally afterward if needed, she brushed it off with a sigh, admitting that the mere thought of any imperfection sneaking into the photos stresses her out to the point of causing sleepless nights and anxious checklists. But she refused to elaborate further on what was fueling that intensity, changing the subject back to how true friends make sacrifices for special occasions. The conversation heated up as she reiterated the uninvite possibility if I won't budge, saying it's her once-in-a-lifetime moment and she needs support from those closest to her to feel confident, which made me reflect internally on the growing irony of her demanding conformity, while our friendship has thrived on celebrating our differences. Like the time she dyed her hair a bold bright pink on a whim during a tough breakup, and I hyped her up endlessly, taking silly selfies to boost her mood. I left the cafe feeling a turbulent mix of anger, confusion, and underlying concern for whatever was really bothering her, telling her directly that this stance could create lasting damage to our bond if she prioritizes aesthetics over the people who make her life special. Mutual friends got wind of the drama through our group chats, some siding with her by sharing stories of their own wedding compromises like toning down outfits for themes, others backing me and injecting lighthearted suspense with jokes about the absurdity of piercing police patrolling the party. My family weighed in too, calling it overly controlling and out of character, but is holding my ground worth potentially risking the friendship we've built over a decade? Or am I missing a bigger picture on her side that I need to uncover? Update 2. Tying back to Emma's insistence that I remove my facial piercings for the party, framing them as a potential distraction from her elegant aesthetic. With an uninvite threat hanging over me when I refused and suggested alternatives, the cafe confrontation, where she dismissed compromises and vaguely hinted at perfectionism stress, without diving into details, only intensified when I pushed for a deeper, more vulnerable talk at her place, uncovering a long-hidden secret that shifted my entire perspective and added profound emotional layers to her seemingly superficial demands. I showed up unannounced a few days later at her cozy apartment, armed with takeout from our favorite Thai spot, complete with extra spring rolls as a peace offering to soften the mood, and found her in the living room surrounded by party planning chaos. Fabric swatches in soft pinks and ivory scattered like confetti across the couch, invitation mock-ups pinned to a corkboard, and her laptop open to vendor emails, her eyes looking tired and puffy from what appeared to be another late night of obsessive tweaking. I dove in gently but directly, saying her reaction felt completely out of character for the supportive friend I've known forever, and asking what was really driving this intense obsession with everything being flawlessly coordinated, pointing out specific examples like how she's triple-checked the menu for color coordination with the decor or vetoed fun, spontaneous elements like a DIY photo booth for fear of messy, candid shots that might not align with her vision. She hesitated at first, fidgeting nervously with a floral sample and avoiding eye contact, but the familiar comfort of our shared meal eventually broke down her walls, and she opened up with tears streaming down her face, revealing that her fixation stems from a traumatic childhood accident, a car crash at age 10 that left her with a noticeable scar running along her cheek, which she's meticulously hidden under layers of heavy makeup ever since, even keeping it a secret from close friends like me until this very moment. The vulnerability poured out as she explained how the scar led to cruel bullying in school, making her feel perpetually self-conscious and unworthy in photos or social settings, fostering a deep-seated need to control every aspect of her image to avoid drawing attention to what she sees as her biggest flaw, projecting that anxiety onto my piercings as something else, imperfect, that could steal focus and trigger her old fears. The irony washed over me like a sudden realization, reflecting on how I've always viewed her as effortlessly confident and beautiful, never suspecting the makeup was a carefully constructed shield, and how her demands now mirrored the very insecurities she's battled privately for years, turning what I thought was superficial nitpicking into a heartfelt cry for understanding. We talked for hours into the evening, hugging it out amid the planning mess. She apologized sincerely for the uninvite threat and the pressure, admitting it all stemmed from pre-party anxiety about feeling exposed on such a public day, and I shared how it had hurt me deeply, but that this new context changed everything, offering my full support in whatever ways she needed to feel comfortable. Mutual friends chimed in via supportive texts after I confided bits of the story, without betraying her secret, some sharing their own body image struggles to normalize it and adding a sense of community warmth to the revelation. It's undoubtedly a turning point that has brought us closer already, but can we fully move forward without any lingering resentment? Or has the initial conflict left subtle scars on our friendship that time will need to heal? Update 3. Here's the positive resolution after Emma's push for me to ditch my facial piercings at her engagement party, insisting they'd ruin her polished aesthetic with their edgy vibe, complete with an uninvite threat when I held firm and proposed workarounds. The cafe standoff hinting at her underlying stress, without full disclosure, followed by the heartfelt reveal at her place about her childhood scar and the profound insecurities driving her need for control in every detail. Those raw, honest discussions paved the way for genuine healing and growth over the next few weeks, transforming what could have been irreparable fallout into an even stronger, more empathetic friendship that celebrated our authentic selves. Emma took proactive steps to process her emotions, starting therapy sessions specifically focused on body image and self-acceptance that helped her reframe her scar not as a flaw to hide, but as a badge of resilience from her past. And in a bold move, she decided to wear lighter, more natural makeup for the party, allowing subtle hints of the scar to show in a way that felt empowering rather than exposing. I kept my piercings proudly in place, and she even incorporated subtle edgy elements into the decor to honor our differences, like metallic accents in the floral arrangements and a playlist mixing her elegant ballads with my upbeat indie tracks, turning the event into a beautiful blend of our contrasting personalities that guests noticed and complimented. The party itself unfolded magically under the garden venue's twinkling lights. Guests raved about the warm, inclusive vibe, with group shots capturing genuine joy and laughter, and Emma pulled me aside midway through the evening for a quiet moment by the fountain, thanking me tearfully for pushing her to open up and saying it made the day feel truly perfect because it was real and unfiltered, not a staged illusion, with us sharing a heartfelt hug that symbolized our renewed bond. Reflecting on the irony of it all, I smile at how our initial aesthetic crisis sparked this profound growth for both of us, with friends now teasing us lightheartedly about our drama-fueled glow-up during casual hangouts and group dinners, turning the story into an inside joke that strengthens our circle. It's good overall. Our friendship is deeper and more resilient than ever, filled with increased vulnerability and mutual support, like planning joint self-care days where we encourage each other's true selves, and the experience served as a powerful reminder that true connections thrive on authenticity and empathy over superficial appearances, leaving us closer, more confident, and excited for whatever life throws our way next.